I just wanted to share with you that we have this very interesting little thing that goes on with our clock that's in our bedroom where it goes ahead 2 minutes. And it just does this regularly. When then we adjust it, and then it goes ahead 2 minutes. So that's my excuse for how I showed up today. So so welcome, hello, and so glad to see you all and see your names. And is there anybody here that is here for the first time? Is this your first Loops and Scoops? All right, great. So we have veterans here. That's wonderful. One of the things that we do in, I'm going to just click, I've got various things here going on. All right. One of the things that we do here, we call this love in action. And it's really about being able to choose where you're putting your attention. It's about receiving the nourishment of connection, and it's about operationalizing love. So people are always saying all you need to do is just move from fear to love. But what we specialize in is what we call the how of consciousness. So how do you do that? And so the Loops and Scoops and Love in Action is really the practice of choosing where we put our attention and choosing to give and receive presence, because we move from fear to love through presence. And presence is really a lot about you actually choosing where you're putting your attention. So one thing, last week we focused a lot on our love pool, and today I want to start with really focusing on attention and how you're using your attention. So are you able to choose consistently where you're putting your attention and when you're choosing to put your attention where you do? For me, these are really foundational questions. Does my attention get captured? Am I choosing to put my attention somewhere and then it gets distracted somewhere else and I've moved out of choice? So what are the things that move me out of choice? And what can I do when that happens? And are you willing to consciously use your attention, give the giving and the receiving of your attention? So what I'd like you to do first is just to let your attention go out like a big spray, like when I was just thinking about when my friends, when I was little, used to make me laugh, and I would go, and my milk would go all over the place. So let your attention just go out and notice what happens when you use your attention that way. It's just kind of going out. So for me, I get just this flood of all of these different colors and lights and darks and shapes, but I'm not actually landing my attention on something. It's just kind of going out. So now I'd like you to actually gather your attention. I'm going to bring this down a little bit so you can see me. I'd like you to gather your attention. And you can do that by just gathering it. So just take a moment to gather it, because we usually think of our attention as visual, but what if it were your whole body orientation? And then you purposefully sent it out and then let it land. And do that a couple of times where you're gathering your attention, and then you're choosing where. It's almost like tossing it. You're choosing, you got the basket out there and you're choosing to land it on that. And I don't want you so much to notice where you land it as the how of how you're using your attention. Because one of the big skills is being able to gather your attention and choose it and land it like a basket. So just do that a couple of times of gathering, choosing, and landing. And just notice how that is for you, just a process. So not the goal of landing it, but the actual experience of gathering and sending your attention to a chosen place. honing that skill has been so important for me because I can alternate between kind of taking in the whole, like now let yourself just fan out, like do a scan of out there and just notice how that is different for you inside. Scanning feels very different than gathering, choosing, and landing. So those two are ends of the continuum that I find incredibly powerful to practice because I want to be able to do both of them. I want to be able to, for example, I'm going to the store, I want to be able to scan. What I'm scanning for this time is, are people wearing masks in here? So that's one of the things that I'm scanning for because I want to know that. And that's going to make a difference to what I'm choosing to do, how I'm choosing to use myself. So scanning, very, very valuable, but also, where are the shallots? So I'm gathering my attention and I'm going out, there they are. So your ability to do both the wide angle lens and the focused lens allows you to be so much more effective in the way you move through the world. Now, I want to invite you to add breath to that because a lot of times when we're using our attention, we stop breathing or we stop letting our bodies move in comfortable ways. So I'd like you to now aim it this way. Whoa. I'd like you to scan your body. It's like one of those little miner's lights where you're going, mee, 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 mee. So however it is that you can most pleasurably scan you, go ahead and do that. Some people like to move their bodies when they do that. Some people like to have their eyes closed. But I do want to invite you to breathe because often when we give it attention to ourselves, we get into that what's wrong habit and we stop breathing. So scanning and breathing. So for example, I like to scan down the front of me all the way to my feet, and my feet are responding to my attention by wiggling, my toes are wiggling. And then I like to scan up the back of my body. And what I'm really doing is giving attention to me. And what you might notice as you're doing that is what you add to it. So you might add critical thoughts or noticing that where you have owies. But notice if you could let yourself have a kind of a scan. So do that however you do that, around you or down your whole body or down the middle of your body or up from the ground. You can try on some different ways of scanning you. And notice if you can sustain the scan or if something distracts you, so a noise or a critical thought. So from the scan, I'd like you to gather your attention and I'd like you to give it to a place in you that's asking for your attention. So what that would be is like you're landing it to someplace in your body where you can let your attention rest. So where I'm choosing is right where my shoulders and my neck come together, right at the top of my cervical vertebra. And I'm just, and I can feel some oozing wanting to happen in there. So notice when you land your attention on that place in your body, is there anything that wants to open up, anything that's wanting to move? Yeah, so I can feel also that the front of that part of my body is also speaking to me. So you might notice that that takes your attention somewhere else in your body. I'm also noticing that a lot of you are letting your body just respond, which is great. Just whatever does your body want to do in response to your attention. One of the things that we know is that what you give attention to grows. And so I want you to be having a very keen choice to be able to actually focus where you're wanting to be focusing and choosing when to turn your attention somewhere else. It's such an essential practice for us right now because there's so much going on and there's so much coming at us all the time right now. And a lot of it is confusing. So the other thing I wanted to share with you is the word toss was coming to me when I was thinking about what are we going to do today? And toss, if you think of just playing toss, those of you, I didn't learn how to play toss until I met Gay because I grew up in that era where girls didn't get to play toss and baseball and stuff. And so the one time I played with my brothers, my older brother hit me in the head with the baseball bat accidentally. So that was my baseball career until I got older. But the act of playing toss, or on the playground, we used to have, bigger balls and we would basically kind of toss the ball back and forth. So let yourself, if you have, this is a hacky sack, which I like to have around. And when I'm doing seminars, I also like to have balloons so that they're a little bit bigger. Because when I'm talking to you and I'm tossing, I'm dividing my attention. So so sometimes I'll get the toss, but it's the act of the letting go and receiving, tossing and receiving. So let yourself just find a comfortable rhythm for that. If you have a balloon or a ball at home, beautiful, beautiful. You could, I can see people are tossing with all kinds of great stuff. You can toss with an orange or a cup, or that's wonderful. Teddy bear, your cat. So, and when I'm doing that, I get this very comfortable, there's this sense of, easy rhythm. And I'd like you to think of your attention, tossing your attention with that kind of ease. So while you're tossing, let yourself notice the sense of landing in one hand and then landing in the other, and just the easy fun of that. For me, also, the little sound that the hacky sack makes is very pleasant for me, and I love the feel of it. So the texture, so I'm getting a lot of sensory input that I really enjoy. So imagine now keep tossing in your imagination. So stop actually tossing physically, but keep tossing in your imagination. And what I'd like you to do is to toss your attention from one place in your body to another. Just simply toss it and let it land like hello, and then toss it and let it land someplace else. And if your body wants to respond to that with sound or movement, that's great. And then you can alternate with tossing inside, with tossing out. So it's a way of gathering and then choosing where you're putting your attention. You're tossing to something. And then imagine that being tossed back to you. And if you lose the tossing rhythm, I want to invite you for this next week to have just a little tossing practice that you do, for a couple of minutes in the day. And you can add that into your fear melters. You could do tossing with fear melters. You could do oozy tossing. You could do wiggly tossing. But the tossing is to give you that sense of lightness, ease, and the pleasure of using your attention, the pleasure of simply finding a rhythm of tossing that you enjoy, and then using that as part of your practice so that you are not just inundated, but you're actually choosing, you're receiving, and you're exchanging attention. So thank you so much for playing today. It's lovely to see your faces, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year. And I'm going to go ahead and and take my leave. And if you also, you can just imagine that we're all just tossing together. And so imagine as we're ending that all of this just tossing back and forth to each other, and that there's plenty of attention and plenty of love for all of us. So thank you and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.